Okay, here I am in the same place that I was on the day I landed for good in Bangalore, the 6th of May 2002. And at that time, the one thing that I did not like about Bangalore was one of my favorite dishes. It's pongal. And the pongal that's made in Karnataka is not something that I got used to. So I was fervently searching for a pongal that was worthy of the tambram in me. And after searching for a while, I found it. And not only did I find the pongal, I also found something that was more important and is the reason for who I am today, what I am today, and how I go about my life. So I'm going to eat some pongal today, and maybe just about that. And if you're unlucky, you might actually hear me speak. So let's see. Today is an interesting podcast episode. People have been telling me that the introductions are long, so I'm going to keep it short. This is a one-line introduction. Why I do what I do, how I do what I do, and who I am to a large extent depends on 4 people. My parents, my guru, and my master. So today's guest is Master Kichu, my friend, philosopher, and guide, and ever grateful. So shortest introduction I can come up with. Kichu Master.
Yes, sir.
As always, a pleasure.
Thank you.
And good to have you on the HappYness Helix Podcast. Sure. All yours. I've listened to you a lot.
No, you know how I am. I'm quite pathetic in talking. I am exceedingly good if people ask me questions.
Lovely.
Okay, so as a lecturer, I think people will fall asleep.
I don't believe that because the only time I've stayed completely awake and 100% focused is when I was listening to you. So I've never slept. So thank you.
So I agree with that, Cheenu. And since you've been through the workshops that I conduct, you know it's all of them are interactive.
Absolutely.
It's never a bhashan that I give and
Correct.
hope people will understand.
Correct.
So I'm putting the ball back in your court. Ask me questions and I'll answer.
Absolutely. So the HappYness Helix.
Yeah.
The first person I shared the concept with was you.
Yes.
So the 6 landings.
Yes.
So if you look at the HappYness Helix, it starts with this moment. This is it.
Yeah.
That's your famous statement.
Yes.
This is it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me about this is it. On the second day of the EST training that you attended.
Yes.
The well, right?
Yeah. That was in 1979.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was a very young 27-year-old person who thought that I controlled the world. And anything that I wanted to get done in the world would happen. And then I found out that that's not true. That could be true only if I accepted reality as it is rather than what it should be.
Love you.
Yeah. And that was for me a defining moment in my life. And from there is when my journey started. Like somewhere along the line you joined. How, I don't know.
So 27-year-old to 72-year-old.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, I didn't realize that. 27 to 72.
27 to 72.
Yeah.
45 years.
Yeah.
So this is it. So
Yeah.
HappYness Helix, wherever it is that you said, anybody,
Yeah.
the starting point is this moment.
Yes.
And if the starting point is a one of this is it,
Yes.
coupled with I am responsible for everything that exists in my life.
My life. Yeah.
Which is again in the
Absolutely.
communication workshop.
Absolutely.
If I adopt that,
Yeah.
then there is a chance that we are likely to go up. If, on the other hand, this is it, and if I start with, oh my God,
Yeah.
why is my life
Like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I'm not responsible.
Yeah.
That X, Y, Z is responsible. Or even if I lived in denial about my actual state of events, there are people that we know
Oh, yes. Definitely.
are not living the life that they are actually living, but they're living a different story that they have in mind. So if I take responsibility, then I will start working on myself, which is what we speak about in terms of emotional management of myself.
Yes.
So that will take me to a landing, which is, I have a good attitude. Then this is landing 1, landing 2. Landing 3 is what, again, I learned from you, which is, can I be inspiring?
Exactly.
Can I be likable?
Yeah.
Can I be liked?
Yes.
Can I be supported? Can I expand my circle that is available to me? So that's landing 3, which I think if you look at it in the workshops that we are talking about, is the communication workshop.
Yes.
Portions of the communication workshop.
Definitely.
Not all of it.
Yeah.
Well, the communication workshop is so large, so vast. So landing 1, 2, and 3 is about taking responsibility, working on myself, being equanimous, balanced. Because I'm equanimous, balanced, I get to a place where I am liked, supported, and I have a good circle. Which then brings me to the 4th landing, which is where I met you for the first time.
Yeah.
Which is, if I have all of this, chances are that I will be able to set and achieve my objectives by design consistently and predictably. Which is the
Work Smart workshop.
Work Smart, Results Manager, it's got...
whatever names it does.
You've given so many names.
Yeah.
And whenever I came along, I also gave a few names. So we've done that. But the Results Manager, Hope, Compass System, that's landing 4. Setting, achieving goals by design. Which then brings me to my 5th landing, which is, I will have greater self-confidence, self-belief. Right? So landing 5, which is before the Pongal comes. Because after the Pongal comes, I'm not talking.
Then you can't talk.
I'm not talking. Good shot.
It's okay.
That's life.
Yeah.
Right? This is it.
Yeah.
So then I have greater self-confidence beliefs. Chances are that I will set objectives that are bigger than
Me. Yes.
It's not focused only on me. So I'm looking at a larger thing. And I start believing that I'm capable of doing so much
More and more. Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So then it brings me to 6th landing, which is I wake up in the morning full of something that I'm really looking forward to, which chances are, as our common friend Raj Sharma, who loves this place, incidentally says, I'd be tap dancing into life.
Right. Exactly.
He'd say tap dancing into work. I'm saying tap dancing into life.
Yeah.
Right? So this is, and then it goes up and up and up.
This is the fundamental. It's a HappYness Helix. Yes.
On the downward slide, unhappiness.
Yeah.
I'm not responsible.
Yes.
Right?
This is not it.
This is not it.
Yes.
I am pure. Everybody else is against me.
Yes.
This person, that person, the person who doesn't listen to me. Again, something I learned from you. It's not that they don't listen to me. I have not made it easy for them to listen. Small things.
Yeah.
But as long as I'm saying nobody listens to me, nobody's helping me, this is effed up, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Chances are that I'm not going to have an attitude that is useful.
Yes.
And therefore, I'm going to blame consistently everybody else.
And then you can definitely not be inspiring them.
Therefore, I'm not inspiring. Nobody wants me.
Yes.
And if nobody wants me, chances are that my achievement of objectives is going to be less than ideal. And if that happens, my confidence is going to further go down, and I'm going to still complain about everybody else.
Yeah.
And wake up in the morning feeling like a piece of crap.
Yes.
And I find more and more things that I can complain. Right? So this HappYness Helix podcast, Master Kichu, is related to the question I asked you one day when I made some coffee for you.
Yes, I do remember.
I said, do you plan to die?
Yeah.
And you said, yes.
Absolutely.
If I'm born, I have to die.
Yes.
Then I said something interesting. I said, selfish man, don't you want to leave a legacy? And you looked at me and you said, 70,000 people I've coached. Only one idiot wants to work with me. Come work with me. So I started working with you. I'd been working with you before, but full time since then.
Yes. I know.
So this HappYness Helix podcast
Yeah.
is not for how great you are, how great I am. It is only to make sure that legacy of this knowledge, this information, I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
This legacy, this knowledge is available for a larger audience. And I remember you telling me that you had gone to Africa to conduct a workshop, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I'll go to Africa to conduct a workshop. And I'm saying that, sitting here, leveraging technology, I would like to conduct a workshop and make the lives of people better everywhere in the world.
All over the
So
world.
this workshop is entirely about that. Ever grateful. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Like say,
I agree.
Karambudina puliya.
Correct.
Right? I don't need to get paid to eat sugar cane.
Correct.
I'm going to eat now kangal and
Pongal and vadai. Yeah.
and then I'm going to have a chat with you.
Sure. What are we having so far? Is this not a chat also?
No, it's been a monologue for now. Because I've been speaking a lot more.
Yeah, but
Hopefully. And I wanted you to be the first guest. Didn't happen.
fair enough.
That's okay. Because I had somebody else.
Yeah.
And you'll also appreciate
Yeah.
as the first guest.
Yeah.
Our friend Arun.
Yes. I saw that podcast. It was amazing. Okay.
So now I'm going to stop talking for a bit
Okay.
because I have something more important to do than talking to you,
Okay.
which is
I agree.
Pongal and nice vada.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So I am going to suspend talking.
Okay.
And if I'm awake after the Pongal and vada, we will continue our
No,
conversation.
don't worry. I kept you awake in the workshops. I definitely keep you awake now. Okay.
So also, before you start,
Yeah.
why did you start Krishna Cafe? I've asked this question multiple times.
Yes.
I'm asking this now for a reason.
Okay.
Why Krishna Cafe?
All right. So we were 3 of us in the company, and we used to represent the company from the US, right? And all of a sudden, we got information that we earned some commissions. The 3 of us sat together and we realized we didn't deserve that commission simply because we didn't do anything about it. The company I represented was such an ethical company. If they sold anything in India, we'd get a commission. That was the way they operated, whether we did work or didn't work. So we all sat together one day in a nice place drinking some beer. That used to be our board meetings. And said, what do we do with this money? Is we put it into the company. Within 6 months, our cash flow will be as it was before, and you will not know where the money went. Okay? So we are debating what to do. Somebody said, let's start a chemist shop. That's the one that's running. One of the other colleagues, a guy called Raman, he said, no, you are going to profit from other people's illness.
Interesting.
And that's not something that we should do. Okay? So we were thinking, and then suddenly it hit us, food. Okay? And out of the 3 of us, 2 of us are Tambrams. The third guy loves food. Okay? So we said, let's start a restaurant. And in those days, in 2002, in Bangalore, there was no place that served authentic Tamilian food. And there was a bunch of software guys landing up in Bangalore. One either missing their mother's cooking or their wife couldn't cook the way their mother does. So we said, let's start this. We started it as a lark. Let's see what happens. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, anyway, we didn't deserve that money. It went somewhere. And then, see, the main thing, Cheenu, was it was not started with profit as a base. Let's give people good food. Let them get out of this place feeling nice. Let them not have indigestion when they go back home. Okay? And that they want to come back here again to eat. So, and we did something very interesting in the beginning. For 7 or 8 days, we gave lunch free.
Oh.
Okay? Just said, come, taste the food and go. And there was once when I used to come here every day at that time. And I saw some argument at the cashier's table. There was a lady and she was arguing with the cashier. So I just went up there and asked, what is the problem? So the lady says, I work in IOB Bank here, a Tamilian lady. She said, I want to pay for the food, but the cashier is not taking the money. Then she said something, my Tamil is not all that great. I had to go back and ask my wife about it. She said, na danda saapadu saapida matter.
Dandachor.
Dandachor. Yeah, you are better at it.
Dandachor.
Then I understood somewhere she's a little upset. Then I told her, okay, for you, you pay the money and eat the food. And she paid it. And I think she's been a regular customer from that time onwards. So that's how we started Sheeters. Let's give good food.
The other thing, I don't know whether it's serendipity. I come here before I met you.
Yes.
Sitting at the same table, same place, with our dear friend Jaya sitting here. And he told me, come with me, I'm going to buy you some lunch. I didn't know whether he came in that 8-day period and he actually didn't buy my lunch. I don't know. I'll have to check with him.
You can check it out.
And then he said, I want you to tell me. I said, what do you want me to do? I want you to tell me whether this is authentic Tambram cuisine. I came, I sat down, I had food and I looked at him and I said, authentic. I didn't know that you were the person, obviously. And we will talk about how I came to meet you a little later. But now...
Also, Cheenu, none of us had any background in the hotel business. But we followed the principles that we did in our factory. Give people a good product at a decent price with great service. These were the 3 pillars of the factory as well as his wish. Good product, fair price, great service.
Good product. Agree. The other thing that I was just telling Robin, certificate for Krishna Cafe is when Nishan turns around and he tells me, Appa, let's go to Krishna Cafe. Yeah. Or my mother says, let's go to Krishna Cafe. I think that's all that you...
The greatest pleasure I get out of starting Krishna Cafe is when a husband and wife are coming with elderly parents. And they turn around and say, this is the place that we feel safe to bring our parents to. Then I know that I don't like these mission, vision words and all that. The idea with which I started this place,
Absolutely.
is being fulfilled.
Who we are.
Yeah.
Right? Who we are.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'd like to talk to you about because I've learned this. And now, as you know, my penchant for making sure that it is decocted, distilled into something that is easy for people to understand. Yeah. Right? Who we are is reflected in how we do anything that we do. So if you're going to be, you said the company was very integrous that dealt with you, and they paid you a commission.
Yes.
We get people into our lives that are like us. Right?
I'm blessed in that way. Wow. I think it also becomes easier for you to continue to be integrous when you attract people who are integrous around you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That there is, life's a lot simpler.
Yeah.
Life's a lot simpler and easier.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to focus on this now.
I also will focus on.
Okay.
It's getting too difficult.
Yeah. I can't talk to you and eat Pongal. I have to do justice to Pongal before I do justice to you. Okay?
Fair enough.
So, after the Pongal, you'll be back.
We take a break.
So, Pongal, Krishna Cafe, trying to keep eyes open and to have a chat with Kichu Master. And we actually had a conversation.
Yes.
Had an exchange for about 45 minutes when technology said, sorry.
Murphy's Law kicked in.
Which is, brings it beautifully to the HappYness Helix.
Yes. It does.
I've learned it from a few people, trying to give it my special sauce, so to say. And like I said, aiming to make it easier for people to remember something and to understand it. So the HappYness Helix, as you're aware, starts with this is it. I'm responsible. If I'm responsible and I take responsibility for my life exactly as it is, like in the communication workshop, you say, I'm responsible for everything that exists in my life.
Yeah.
Right. Which brings me to the landing 2, which is, I will have a good attitude. I will be emotionally equanimous. I will be stable.
Balanced. Yeah.
So, people, circumstances, events, situations
Do not
upset me.
Yeah.
And I'm responsible for my behavior, how I perceive life. So that's landing 2, sorry. If I accept responsibility for my life, I have a good attitude, brings me to third landing, which is I will be liked and supported by people. Right? Which is in the communication workshop, people will find me inspiring.
Yes.
They will find me interesting because I'm interested in them. And therefore, they will support me.
Yeah.
I have a larger circle of friends, acquaintances, well-wishers, resources. Put it crudely, resources. Right? Resources means that, I'm using them. No, this is something that.
Yeah.
So chances are that if you look at this, this I have taken from our communication workshop, where it is about accepting responsibility, being the best version of myself in this moment, therefore having a larger circle of people that I can rely on, depend on. Which brings me to the fourth landing, which is I will set and achieve my objectives by design, predictably, consistently.
Yeah.
Which is the compass system, results manager, hope, whatever you're going to call it. And once that happens, I will get to the fifth landing, which is that consistently when I keep on doing it, predictably, repeatedly, and I start refining how I got there, I will have greater confidence in myself. I will start believing in myself a lot more because it's not just me. I have an entire support system in place. And I know I can draw upon those resources. Yeah. So landing 5 is greater self-confidence and being able to aim much bigger, larger.
Yeah.
Which brings me to landing 6, which is that I will set objectives that are even more grand, larger than just me.
Yeah.
Things like, for the planet, for society, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it is not going to be focused only on me. So chances are, like our common friend Raj Sharma would say, if I have that kind of an objective, then I'm going to wake up feeling really energized.
Yeah. As you used to say, tap dance.
Tap dance.
Yeah.
Right. So I think both of us have been on this, where we find the energy within to just wake up every day and say,
absolutely,
we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Right. The other side of it is we deal with a lot of people, which is that they blame their circumstances, situations, and they are not responsible for their situation in life. They blame circumstances, people's religion,
where they were born, which family, all of that.
All of that. Which also leads them to not taking responsibility for being stable and equanimous.
Yeah.
And they get upset by various things. And when they are upset, their ability to communicate deteriorates. And therefore, they are not very liked or supported. They have a smaller circle of resources to draw upon.
Also, Cheenu, when they are upset, it impacts their health.
Yeah.
Which most people are unaware of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. It's, people think it's mumbo jumbo. Yes. That it's psychosomatic is a mumbo jumbo thing. It's been proven that it's not mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
So if I am not achieving if I'm not liked, I'm not supported, chances are that I'm not going to be achieving my
objectives.
Which leads to another point where I will have lesser confidence. And if I'm feeling very less confident, I cannot rely on other people. I actually go into survival mode.
Yes.
Right? It's life or death. It's primal survival mode where it really doesn't matter ethics, principles, none of those things matter. I have to survive.
Yes.
So my objective is going to be very focused on myself. And in a world that thrives on being, on supporting and helping others, not just people, every human, it's an ecosystem.
Yeah.
Anything that draws more from the ecosystem than it gives is going to be punished.
Yeah.
So the downward slide, the unhappiness slide, as I call it, is very, very slippery, and it spins out of control. So this is the thesis, and I'm sure you will appreciate.
Most certainly. I mean,
So I started looking at it and saying that this information should be available to people, and it's not being done out of any financial motive. The only thing is that you'll probably disagree with me when I say 100,000 people. Okay, I'll give you your number, 70,000 people you've coached.
Yeah.
And 70,000 people have benefited from listening to you.
Yeah, directly.
I'm one of them.
Yes.
I've had more interactions with you than most other people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any other people have participated as an observer or as a participant in your workshops the number of times I have. I don't know.
No, not many. Yeah.
And so it's sort of osmosis, it just went in. Be sitting there and not. So this is the objective. So I chanced upon becoming a coach thanks to attending your workshop, right? 2003, 12th and 13th of December 2003. You asked me to write down life goals and all of that. There's many of them that I wrote that I have said that either I've achieved them or they're no longer relevant
in
the person that I am today.
Today, yeah.
One of them I haven't struck out, which is to have a Mercedes-Benz SUV.
Oh, okay.
It still is there. Okay. I don't know whether I'll strike it out. Most of the other things I've struck out, either I've achieved them or they don't matter to me.
Any longer.
But 2003, what I wrote 21 years ago, still remains. So my parents, my guru, and you sort of put it all together and said, hey, this is what you need to be doing. This is who you need to be. Right? You didn't say it. I just had that absolute clarity of who I needed to be. And then later on, I called you home for a cup of coffee. And I asked you, do you plan to die, etc., etc. And then you told me 70,000 people I've coached. Only one idiot wants to walk with me. Come walk with me. So I started walking with you. The last 6 or 7 years, I've been walking relatively on my own. So physically, not in your proximity. Mentally, spiritually, and at the level of the being, always in proximity.
Always there, yeah.
So my father was a great inspiration in me doing what I'm doing. He wasn't a coach, but he was a person who made a positive difference to everybody. My mother was there, and I think you distilled that when I met you.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, I need to be like this guy. And I also remember telling myself the same thing that I told myself when I was talking to my father. And he made a very interesting statement in return. So I told him, Appa, I need to be better than you. Right? And he looked at me and he said, Cheenu, I'm not your competition. I'll be the happiest when you are a million times and preferably infinitely better than I am.
Yeah.
Right? So in many ways, when I saw you, I said, you know what, I'm going to be like this guy and better.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And I think this is the one thing that I tell everybody that I coach. I said, I want you to be better than I am.
Better. Yeah.
Because that's the law of nature, that the generation that comes after must be better. Because we have not otherwise passed on all of the knowledge to the next generation. So the youngsters will always be better. So, long thing. So you inspired me to be a coach.
Yes.
Who inspired you?
A little history for that. Okay. Year is 1974. And I was not very good at studies.
Okay.
But somehow I found a liking in oceanography. And I said, I want to go to the US, do my MS in oceanography. got admissions. They used to have this thing called I-20, a form which says that therefore your admission is guaranteed.
Correct.
I had 4 I-20s.
Lovely.
Okay. And I was all set, completed GRE, etc., etc., etc. My father decided to do something to alter my plans. He died. Okay. Everything went out of the...
The reason I'm laughing is I've heard you say this n number of times.
Yeah.
And n number of times I'm listening to it and you're saying it the way you're saying it for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, but because I just, I reimagine the whole thing, you know, as though it's for the first time.
Yeah.
And then overnight flipped from irresponsible brat to responsible head of the family.
You were irresponsible brat?
I mean, everything in my life was in my father's hands. Okay? All decisions, everything, which he should take care. I had my own decisions. All of a sudden, I'm told you got to take care of your mother, you got to take care of your brother, you got to take care of your sister. So I took all of those aside and decided to take care of my family. But there's one thing, Cheenu, that happened at that time. A couple of days before he died, I dropped him off at the airport. And he looked very stressed and tense and etc., etc. And I asked him, what's up? And he said, look, I'm going all around the country to implement a policy for the company which I don't agree with. It goes against my own integrity. So he said, anyway, this is the last time. After I come back, I've talked to somebody else. I'm going to join that company. I'm no longer going to be with these people. Then, a couple of days later, he died. I think somewhere when he died, I decided for myself.
How old were you and how old was he?
He was, I think, 45, 46, and I was 22. Okay. That day, I decided first, I'm not going to work for anybody else. I'm going to work for me. And at the same time, I am going to work without stress. Because I knew for sure stress killed him. Because he had a cerebral hemorrhage. So I got, after he died, I said, no, I'm going to live a life longer than him. And I'm going to have a ball in life. And be as successful as he was. He was a tough act to follow. Okay. But, all those were good things in the background, but survival was at stake. So all I was interested as a young guy in Bombay was make money, make more money, make more money. Okay. And I did all kinds of things in those 5-6 years. There's a good friend of mine called Venkatesh Babu. He introduced me to somebody once and he says, Kichu has done everything other than prostitution and drugs. So I looked at Venkatesh Babu and said, how do you know?
So Venkatesh Babu is also another person I need to thank.
Yeah.
For many things.
Okay. So, and then I did this program called the Yes Training. Okay. Somebody introduced me to the program and there was one lady who was leading the guest seminar. And as she was talking, one guy, asshole in the group, asked her, Khurshid, are you unmarried because you did this program? And I was so angry. I said, her marriage is her personal issue in life. I've always been exceedingly respectful of women. And those values came from my father. Okay. As far as I remember, I don't remember my father and mother fighting. Him saying anything demeaning to my mother. Maybe after the bedroom door was closed, what happened, I don't know. But I was always taught to treat women with respect. And I'm getting angry and this lady is not getting angry. So I said to myself, if I can remain so calm, if you had met me in those days, you wouldn't have lasted a long time with me. Okay?
I'm surprised I did even with this.
Even afterwards, yeah. I've gone softer over the years, but so then I did the program, got a lot of insight into myself. One of the best insights was my sister was studying in Canada at that time. And she came back. I didn't tell anything about the program that I'd attended. And she came back and she said, something changed in you at this time. I said, how did you know? Earlier, your letters were of all the things you did. Your letters became about all the people you met. So I shifted from being a gung-ho machine to make more money to a person who was more people interested. And at some point I realized that was me originally. My father's death had flipped that over into survival. And since this course made such a difference in my life, I became a volunteer with them. This lady, Khurshid, became my mentor, and I'm...
You mentioned once that you are walking in for a follow-up and somebody pulled you out.
Yes.
That was Khurshid.
That was Khurshid. On her neck. Until date, I don't know. She saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I never thought I'm going to do any of this stuff. And that was the beginning and the end of my life, also in the philosophical sense, because in the Sufis, they say, it is a pity you have to die before you wake up. Okay, so I died on that day to the old Kichu that was there. And Khurshid became my mentor. I went to the US, learned how to conduct these workshops. And I did that only with the intention that this is going to make a difference to people in India. That when people realize their true potential, that's when we are going to succeed as a country. I was a patriot, and I still am a patriot.
Next two of us.
Yes, I'm a patriot. I love this country with all the problems that it supposedly has. Okay, I love this country. So that's how this whole thing started. As soon as I finished that workshop, in 4 months, I quit my job and got into business. I was so scared before to start off on my own. I got into business. Okay. Parallelly, all these things are going on. One regret I have about all that is, I used to be so involved in badminton before. Okay.
You mentioned.
Yes. All right. So at that time, I was a state level referee. And then I gave that all up.
Nandu Natekar.
Yeah, all those guys, I was well known for my fairness as a referee. Okay, people would know that if those days I was known as Krishnan. Okay, if Krishnan is a referee, no bias, no partisanship, no nothing, etc., etc. So that's how this journey began, and out of this journey also became about having more goals in life, hence wanting to become more productive. And I realized that you just have not 24 hours, which people say you're only 12 hours a day.
Correct.
Of productive time. How do I pack more in that 12 hours? And that's where the Results Manager Work Smart is the first program you attended.
Which is why I met you.
Yeah, why you met me. That's how that started. And then became that journey of passion for continuous improvement, becoming not the best, but even better than the best. And one of the real highlights, is a good friend of yours also, Raja, Nateshan. He attended a program by Stephen Covey's on time management. He had attended our workshop before. He says 2 hours later, after into the workshop, I walked out. Because he said, you're saying more and much more than those guys. Just because they are from the US, we shouldn't give them all that credit.
Okay. Which brings me to a program that we all signed up for 3 days. 1.5 hours later, I walked out, leaving you there.
Yeah.
Right? I said, I don't need to listen to this. I have listened to better. And you can continue to stay here. I am leaving.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And I left.
Yeah.
Right? Arun and I, both of us, we left.
Yes.
Both of us told you respectfully, Master.
Yeah.
We've learned more from you
Yeah.
And we don't need to put up with this nonsense. We are
right.
leaving.
Yeah.
And very interestingly, you stayed back
Yes.
for the 3 days, which is you.
Yeah. Which is
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So, which is very interesting.
Yes.
So, Khurshid, wonderful lady. You and she have 14 years between the two of you.
Mm.
You and I have 14 years between the two of us. And 28 years my senior. And when I look at it, as old as my mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Khurshid is as old as my mother is.
86.
Yeah.
Well, this year.
And 12 years ago, you and I are conducting the results manager workshop, Hope workshop in Bombay. And a 74-year-old Khurshid is sitting in the front row. And she is taking copious notes and she is engaging 100%, playing the game 100% of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at lunch, I take my dear friend Ramesh Ramani to her and say, Ramesh, meet my guru's guru. And she turns around, looks at me and she says, and you are my guru. Because Kichu's been trying to tell me all of this for so many years.
Yeah.
And somehow the way in which you're saying it, I'm able to understand it better. I think I will adhere to this better than all Kichu has told me. So you are my guru. I said, thank you. Learned a very important lesson that, at whatever, and I follow that to the best of my ability, of my awareness, that we should always be a learner.
Yes.
I should always be a learner and be in a know-nothing state.
Yeah.
Don't get ahead of myself. That's something I learned from her. And obviously, a lot of people who meet me, obviously, they'll hear of you, right?
Yes. Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I'll say, instead of all the things that I tell you to your face, I actually tell them lies and tell them nice things about you.
Okay.
I don't tell them how tough a guy you are. And
We even did that with the guys who are filming us just now.
Correct.
You told very nice things about that.
Absolutely. And they were actually looking for...
Now they know who I really am.
Correct. So, I think one of the other things that I've noticed about you and I learned from you, again from my father, is this appetite, voracious appetite for learning.
Yeah.
Newer and newer things.
Yeah.
So, I see you doing that. 55, my father was when he imported a computer, when nobody had heard of a computer. And he learned. And he would work at it, and I learned with him. So one of the things I've learned from observing all of this, and maybe by osmosis I learned, is to learn and read and acquire knowledge, more and more knowledge. And with every iota of knowledge that comes up, the only thing that becomes stronger is I don't know much. It is now very clear. I can actually say I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I've copied shamelessly a lot of things, right? From you, from my father, from everybody, including one statement which is there is no copyright, just copy it right. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody thinks I'm very great when they see that. And I put it in all the presentations, I put it everywhere, I tell people. And I constantly tell them, this is not mine. I've copied this from Kichu, right? Did you copy it from anybody or was it your own?
Oh, there's nothing that I saw my own.
Okay.
I copied from everyone. I also copied from learnings. I copied from my own experiences in life. Okay. So, for example, early time management systems turn around and say that everything should be there in one place. Okay. And then when we were doing the workshops, I said, that's not practical. So then I invented this little book that you carry with you. Okay. So those are things that I did based more on my learnings through life, the different businesses that I did, the different things that I was involved in. So I don't think there's anything, there's one thing very original that is only belongs to me, which is not there before, was if you remember the old system that we had, I used to attach the pen with a Velcro.
Correct.
And put it on that.
Yeah.
As far as I know, no other system in the world has something like that. And that has been something of a passion for me, Cheenu, which is how do you make something that makes it easier for people to use?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So earlier I was telling you about badminton. I used to play badminton and used to have this self-adhesive grip that you'd put around the badminton racket if it got too sweaty.
Yeah.
So all the other players, everybody would get it from Singapore when they'd go and all that. And I used to be playing with the local Maharashtra guys. They didn't have that. So one fine day I said to myself, what the hell? Let's do this at home. So I went, bought some towel, Johnson tape, okay, sat on my mother's sewing machine and stitched the Johnson tape to the towel strip. What was very exciting was when the needle went through the tape, it picked up the adhesive. So it'll run for about 4 or 5 stitches and get stuck. So then my mother's nail polish remover was there. I took that. I would clean the needle, go some more stitches. Okay. And then I made those. I made many of them. And then I said, there should be some way to do it. I found out which adhesive is there, mixed a couple of adhesives together. And finally, I was making these and pat myself on the back. Mr. Prakash Padukone was using my grips.
Wow.
And I was an entrepreneur at the age of 16.
Wow.
One rubber stamp made by M. Krishnan, fancy price, ₹3 per grip.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, so that has been a passion with me that if somebody else has made it, I can make it.
Very interesting. I'm going to interrupt you here.
Please, please.
Once, we were, my dad and I, we were going for a meeting and we had a PC and a PCXT. PCXT was a big thing.
Yeah.
We were going in, father was a chartered accountant, a practicing auditor, one of the best. We went into a client's office and they said, will you help us computerize all our certain portion? That company is very well known today, one of the largest companies in India. And we went in for the meeting and my father was saying, you'll need these kinds of reports, you'll need this kind of thing, you'll need this for the RBI, you'll need this for this, all of those things. And he says that, and he comes out and he says, yeah, I can do all of these things. So I'm the one who's driving him. So I remember it, I was 18. I'm driving him back home, back to the office. Get into the car, I'm sitting and he's sitting there and I ask him, I said, Appa, do you know how to do all of this? You said so many things. He said, I don't know. I said, then how are we going to do this? He said, I've given my word, so we will do it. 2, there are people who are doing it with larger computers, machines and all of that. So if it can be done, I'll find a way of doing it better, faster, with lesser resources.
Yeah.
And that's, in a certain way, I've also imbibed that.
Yeah.
How can we make it better? And this podcast is one of them.
Yeah.
How can we make it? How can we make all of this knowledge? Because in a workshop, we are constrained with a few things.
Correct.
We have a purpose that we have to get to. We have a certain destination that we need to get to.
Time frame.
Those kind of things. And then if we've actually given them a certain pitch in terms of what we're going to be giving them.
Yes.
The fact is that this will actually give them a lot more
than sitting to a workshop. True. Very so.
Very interestingly, again, slightly controversial.
Yes.
So legally, I believe in this intellectual property, that there, as a law, it exists, I'm okay with it. Ethically, at a spiritual level, legal and ethics, I'm clearly demarcating. Ethically, I don't believe in this concept of anything having any intellectual property at all.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Your thoughts?
I agree with you completely on it. Okay. However, a person or a company that has worked hard and spent enough money to develop a product or a software or whatever it is, does deserve to get paid for the efforts that they made.
Okay.
But they do not have the right to exploit. Okay. So, for example, a number that may be comfortable in the United States. Okay, $200, just as a number, $200. $200 is nothing for the American guy, but $200 in India is an interesting amount of money.
Even today.
Even today, yes, So $200 approximately is 20,000 rupees. So 20,000 rupees is many people's monthly income.
Correct.
Okay. And to have them to pay for that is not very fair. Okay. So for example, right now, to manage my blood sugar levels, I have a CGM.
Okay.
Continuous glucose monitor. Okay. The price is 4,200 rupees. Okay. So in a month, that's about 8,000 to 9,000 rupees, what it costs. Yes, I can afford it. And at the same time, if there's argument's sake, a Chinese company that copies and makes it for, instead of 4,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, I will say hats off to the Chinese guy. Okay.
Even if intellectual property rights are infringed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you have to somewhere look at the greater contribution to humanity. It cannot all be only profits.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. I completely agree with you.
Yes. So they do have the right to make their money.
Okay.
Okay, there's no question about that. For example, if you look at the drugs, okay, now the companies actually fleece the consumers. Okay. At least in the drugs, there is a copyright, there is a cutoff time, which is, I think, too long, too many years. But after that, it can be made. So, for example, now buying generic drugs, my amount of money I spent on the medication for myself is now 30% of what I would before I was buying it from the branded companies. Okay. And very strangely, one of the medicines for controlling blood sugar, when I bought the generic one, my blood sugar levels were dropping. And I had a very funny feeling, are the bigger guys, when they say so many mg, is it so many mg or it is so many mg minus so many mg? Just a thought. I've done no analysis on it.
Again, I don't want us to be
there.
Slapped a case for slander.
But it's okay. I'm old enough to take cases on. So, bring it on. No, but Cheenu, I feel passionately about it because the rules that apply to developing countries like India and the rules that apply to developed countries like the Western world need to be balanced some.
I agree.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
No, I'm completely in alignment with you on that.
Yes.
That even the pharmaceutical company that is supposedly doing research, or the technology company that is supposedly doing research, is building on top of the research that has already been done.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
For example, a person who writes a story, right, and then accuses another of plagiarism.
Yeah.
Right. Every one of us is standing on top of giants who have done a lot of work.
Yes.
Which brings me back to, simple thing I ask people. You and I are able to have an exchange thanks to language.
Yeah.
Who founded language? Are you going to give a royalty to that person? And then I asked them a question. Do you know whether it was a person?
Yeah.
Right? Because, there is this cognitive trade-off hypothesis video on YouTube Originals where Professor Tetsuro Matsudawa talks about it. And he says that the closest companions that human beings have are chimpanzees. And then about 7 million years ago, neither humanoids nor chimpanzees existed. Around 2.5 million years ago, the demarcation and the split became complete. Even then, we had 3 or 4 different humanoid species.
Okay.
And then the Homo sapiens, the ones that thinks, we actually became the one that exists. So Neanderthals, Homo erectus, all of that. I don't want to go into that because that's not my area of expertise.
That's definitely not mine.
Very interesting thing that he came up with was when he is studying chimpanzees. He said the structure of the brain. There are multiple areas of the brain. The one that is closest to our is the chimpanzee brain. So all the parts of the brain are the same. Sizes might be different because of the way we've evolved. So he was starting to look at, is there a space in the brain that is dedicated for language? And he could not find a dedicated space.
Okay.
So he said, if the chimpanzees and we have the same brain, some part of the brain must be repurposed. Which part of the brain has been repurposed? For us to have language. Because language is the one thing that makes all of this possible.
Yeah.
Language has made stories possible.
Yeah.
Which has made possible learning without having to experience. Simply put. Right? I don't need to go and find, have the same pain.
A thought came when you were talking about this. Language was not invented by a person.
Correct.
It was a group of people together who agreed upon and created language.
Correct.
Hence, where copyright.
Correct.
And I think that's true about anything that happens.
Correct.
Very rarely, maybe, I don't know, I've not read enough, that it was one person who did everything all by themselves.
Correct.
Without a group working together with them.
Correct.
No? So that's why I'm not at all for...
I can see the merit because of having a certain intellectual property right for a certain period of time, and that the certain effort that a certain person has made is rewarded. I'm not going to go into another controversial topic, which is a pet pop topic, which is this concept of money itself. Okay, I'm not going to go there today. Another day we will talk only on that, right? On how one of the best inventions of a human that has become the bane today is money. That's my personal opinion. And like we say...
I also have a lot of inputs or my own perspectives on that.
So we will do that another day.
Some other time.
So come back to coaching. Right? I find that in my... one of the things that sets us slightly differently from other people. I'm choosing to use the word differently rather than apart. And don't want to signify that we are better or worse than anybody else. Is the ability to constantly question our actions. More importantly, the underlying unconscious thought patterns behind our actions. I used to do that in a certain way. After I met you, I do that a lot more structured, and I do it a lot more. And I do it in a manner that is nicer to me. I'm kinder to myself without having to beat myself up. I still find 1,000 things that I can be better.
Do better,
And every day I also actively look out for, today, whatever I did, which could I have done better? Right? Some people use the term, where did I fail today? Because if I have not failed today, I have not learned anything. That's the approach that they are taking. I used to take that, and my question to you is this. Do you think it's useful for us to think so much? Or is it better to be blissfully ignorant? What is your thought?
That's a tough one, Cheenu. Okay. I think in certain... Technology catching up with you.
Yeah.
Okay. I think in certain domains, blissfully ignorant. In certain domains, to explore and get better and better, get more information, get more data, etc., etc., etc. So I don't think there is a black and white answer to that. It is situational. It depends upon, what happens. Okay.
So
I'm not avoiding the question.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I don't think I expect you to ever avoid any question.
Yeah.
Okay? I haven't seen you avoid a question. And thanks to you and my dad, I don't avoid questions as well.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Take it head on.
Yeah.
Including if we have to be direct, blunt, be so. I think that's very useful. That's where I make the distinction between being nice and being kind.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? If somebody is neck deep or up to their nostrils in a sewer, if I was nice, I would say, oh, it must be smelly.
Correct.
If I was kind, I'd say, find your way to get up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, coach, you are the reason I call myself a happiness coach, right? You actually told me that your friend listened to you and he said, you are not a productivity coach, you're actually a happiness coach. So I conveniently took it and I've made it.
Now from there, I've taken it back to me also. I'm calling myself now happiness and productivity coach.
Lovely. So happiness coach. So are you happy all the time? Are you productive all the time? Are you balanced all the time? Are you equanimous all the time?
You were talking earlier about this. 100% of the time. 100% of the areas of my life. Okay. I would say 100% in 99% areas of my life. Okay. There are still some times when I do get a little annoyed, a little irritated.
That's all?
Yeah. Anger, it's been years since I've really been angry for an extended period of time. Today, getting irritated, angry, upset, whichever word you want to call it, most of the time recover in 30 seconds. Okay. Sometimes it lasts about 2 minutes. Okay. For example, and you know this when you were not there at the time. When my mother died, it took me about 10 minutes to recover. And the next day morning, after her funeral, I was at work. And people ask me, how can you be at work? Your mother died. I said, my mother died yesterday. I took care of her for my entire life. Now I need to do what is next. Correct. It's not that I'm unfeeling or etc. Okay. But I'm able to recover myself very, very quickly. You know a little more about it. The health issue that I had. Okay. So I don't want to bring the whole story here, but when one of the doctors looked at my foot and said that we'll have to amputate your foot right from above your ankle. Okay. So I walked out of the guy's place and I said, what the fill in the blanks is this? How am I going to live my life with my ankle cut off? So I just said, okay, this is what he says. What next? Called up a good friend of mine. He said, Kichu, come to Narayana tomorrow morning. Meet up with this doctor. I went up with him. Then he said this. Now all that has happened is I've still got my foot. I don't have any of my toes. That's all. Okay. But the thing is, okay, what next?
Yeah.
And when this happens, I think the people around me were more upset than I was upset.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was when this 100% of the time came up.
Yeah.
Okay. In between that, I had a little heart attack. Okay.
I know that also.
Yeah. Okay. So when I walked into the ICU, the doctors had said my heart's at 10%.
Yeah. I heard about it.
Yeah. Then I got in and I just said to myself, I'm going to get out of this ICU. Either on my wheelchair or in a stretcher with a cloth around over my head. But I said, I'm going to have a ball here. So I still remember, there's this doctor lady who came to take all my, all the stuff. And then she finished and she said this. Then I said, what are you doing here? And she said, I'm the resident doctor here. I asked her in the ICU, what are your 5-year goals? And she said, what? I said, no, what are your 5-year goals? Because if you don't look at it, you'll continue to be an emergency ICU doctor. And before you know, 3 years would have gone away and life would have slipped you past. To the extent that I used to joke with this is something which the name Khurshid has given me. She says, Kichu, you're a person who flirts with life. I flirt with dogs. I flirt with nurses. I flirt with orderlies. I flirt with doctors. I flirt with all of them selfishly because I just want to have a good time in life. Okay. So it's just that, and you can do that only if there is equanimity, if you are at a place where you can manage your emotions, and then you can play 100% of the time in 100% of the area.
Absolutely. You're talking about this in this, when you met those 2 doctors, you also made a call to me.
Yes.
And said, what is guidance? What is the guidance you have?
What is the guidance? Yes.
Right. And that's something that you taught me.
Yes.
And I now seem to be the person who's holding that. And thanks to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I gave you the answers and I said, yes, amputation is what is appropriate. No, I think it's gone a little and I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
But because you trust me and I trust this process and you trust the process, we spoke about it.
Yeah.
So I put the phone down and Hema was asking what happened. And I said, this is what Kichu called and he's going to get some part of his left foot chopped off. She said, what? I said, yeah. So they're just going to cut off some part of his left foot. And so she looks at me and says, and you're okay with it? I said, what can I do about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kichu called me for a reason. If he's calling me for a reason, if I'm going to get all upset and uppity and this and that, then I'm not going to be able to do any justice to the reason he's calling me.
Yeah.
Like you said, and again, something that you taught me, I have pre-grieved everybody in my life, right? Yeah. Because my mother said this when my father died and we were all some people. She said something very interesting. She said it in Tamil. She said, the man who has to go is gone.
Yeah.
Now we have to take care of the living.
Yeah, you take care of the living.
So she was so focused on, what kind of food, who, and I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And I learned that lesson, right? Let me ask you, let me put you on the spot.
Please.
Productivity, health, 5-year goals, 10-year goals, life goals, and all of that, right? And how did you come to this stage that you had to get a foot chopped off? Because this is going to be something that is useful for people who are listening.
True. I later discovered that, which the vascular surgeon told me, that as you grow older, we start ignoring foot pain, we start ignoring cramps, we start ignoring numbness, and attribute it to saying, oh, after all, I'm getting old. And the doctor said, it's not that. Vascular flow to your lower extremities is coming down, and most people do not check vascular flow. The main reason why the infection happened was not because my blood sugars were in bad shape.
Blood wasn't flowing at all.
Blood wasn't flowing. And the first stage of doctors who examined, with all respect to them, they did what they knew was the best. They didn't look at this as a point of view. And this guy looked at it as a point of view. And see, the very interesting thing in that hospital is the department is called the Limb Salvage Center.
Wow.
It's not the Limb Amputation Center. Okay. So what I would say is, as we are moving on in age, I would say, oh, my mother also had this. I remember pressing my grandfather's legs when he was this. Taking it as a given that as you grow old, your legs are going to pain and you're going to get cramps, all those things, okay? So I think that was it, that ignoring certain indicators the body was giving me and saying, I'm fine. Positive thinking is fine, Kichu. And I mean, Cheenu, and I still think that I like that Arab proverb, trust in Allah and tie your camel at night. See, all this, today a lot of these mumbo jumbos are going on about health. I'm doing this energy medicine, I'm doing fine, and take a blood test.
Correct.
Do all that. I'm not saying they don't work. And take a blood test. Okay. So I ignored that.
Okay.
And what that has done also to me is a greater awareness of health.
Okay.
Okay. So
maybe, one of the times I'll take an introduction from you to that doctor and get him on the podcast as well. Him or her.
Oh, yes. He's a wonderful.
Because I think this is something that a lot of people would benefit from.
Oh, yes. Right? Yes.
While, HappYness Helix is not just about, without my health.
You're nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to switch tracks.
Please.
I learned from you. So went through a lot of these, working with people. How do we help people understand what they should be working on? I haven't worked with as many people as you have, but I have.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Sure.
I'm run into the few thousands.
Yeah. You're not a new kid on the block. No, definitely not.
And been at it full time.
Yeah.
For the last 15 or so years. Then I realized something very interesting. I would tell people that, we're going to have 5 objectives. Maximum 5 objectives. So if I was working with a corporate employee and the corporate was paying me, I would tell the corporate, 5 objectives. 2 will be professional. 2 will be personal. And they look at me and say, what's the 5th? I said, I'll leave it to the choice of the individual.
Yeah.
More often than not, the individual will choose with some small embedded commands from me that it will be a professional one. Right? Because I wish to tell them, sometimes not so subtly, tell them, I'm getting paid by your company, so make sure that you're giving value to the company. Right?
Yeah, sure. Fair enough.
So then I had some 5 or 6 different ways in which we would look at what is it that the person should be working on. Right? And then I started looking and I said, what? I have a database of all the objectives that all these people that I have gathered over probably 20,000 hours of one-on-one coaching. And I started looking at those goals. Something very interesting came up, Kichu. I realized that all of them fell into 5 buckets. Right? I didn't force fit them. The first one is what I call personal excellence. Okay. Simply put, being the best version of me.
Yeah. Okay.
Second one is physical health and fitness. Then I realized that whether your person was 20 or 80, they were still focused on. So when they were 80, they were saying, I don't want to be in pain. I don't want to be a vegetable before I die. I just want to go like a light go off.
Yes.
20, they were saying, I want to live my life fully and I want to enjoy my life. So personal excellence. The second was physical health and fitness. The third one I realized was business or life as usual. Business or life as usual. Fourth one was what I call business or life future proofing. And the fifth one became something like personal choice, so to say. Right. And when I started looking a little deeper, now that I understood this, I started going into it. And I said, there is a bedrock of life. The bedrock has 2 parts. There's a lower part, which is really the bedrock.
Solid.
That is personal excellence.
Yeah.
Am I being the best version of me that I can be in every moment?
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Nice
Green tea, yeah?
This is lemon tea.
Lemon tea. That's nice. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Very nice. Thank you. So, and I say that the top half of that bedrock is physical health. So nowadays I insist that the 5 objectives, it has to be on these 5. No longer asking them what is the most important thing you think you need to be working on.
Sure.
Because I think many a time what happens is that people really don't choose what they should be choosing. It seems to be what's paining me the most right now.
At this point of time. Yeah.
So when I look at it, and therefore when I started doing this, I've started taking a lot better care of my own health. Right? I wish I could do a little better. I've slackened a little, but I'll get back. I know you will.
Yeah.
So when we are looking at these objectives, right? You've worked with so many people, including, I know you would not want to talk about the names, and I appreciate that, respect that.
Yeah.
Some of the people who are the most well-known people in the country and in the world. And you coach them on productivity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What is your definition of productivity?
Earlier, for me, productivity was doing better at work. Okay. But as I've moved on and on, looking at my own life, it is that, what we did have as a line, which I've diluted and I think want to get back to that line again, is success and fulfillment. Okay. And
The SF system.
the SF system, yes. Okay. Sometimes things go around a full circle. Okay. Because success without fulfillment is of no use. Fulfillment without success is of no use. Or it's not even very difficult to have. So, in that, if I wanted to walk through it again, I would say health. Because if you have your health with you, whatever other things in the domain of success are failures, in a way of saying it in the language that we know, you can still recover. If you've lost health, then it's very difficult for you to recover. So, personal excellence, my take on this, is that a lot of the people are actually quite comfortable coasting along. The percentage of people who want to become excellent is not, for me, as high as it should be. Okay. So, for example, I was telling you earlier, developing a new product. Okay. My timelines used to be my timelines. Okay. Now, they have their timelines.
Correct.
Okay. And the funny thing I find is they don't have a problem in breaking their timelines. While for me, like today, I was so happy. I thought I'm going to be late. These guys were going to come at 10:30. I reached 2 minutes before. Not that they're going to fight with me and fire me. Why were you late, Kichu? But that personal excellence that is there may not be true for most people.
So would not people, forget about excellence as we define it.
Okay.
I am defining personal excellence as being the best version of me that I can be.
No, but if I don't have to be the best version and I still get my salary and my wife is quite all right with me, my children are doing reasonably, why should I push myself?
Correct. Which brings me back to the original thing about language when you said
yes,
that, it was collectively created.
Yeah.
Right? So if I'm going to be a drain on the system, some point of time, system will throw me out.
Yeah. Can I go to an extreme example?
Of course, please.
There's a lady who works in a house.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, which my wife keeps telling her, when you got married and you had that child of yours, did you have any idea how you're going to bring up that child economically? Okay. Anyway, she got married. She's got a child. Child's got a heart problem. Husband has left her long ago. Somehow, so far, for her in the environment from which she comes in, to even explore, I can be better than the person I am today, itself is very difficult to comprehend. Okay. She is comfortable as long as she gets her salary at the end of the month. If her child falls sick, she'll borrow from somewhere, mostly from us, okay? Because she borrows from somewhere, she pays 2%, 4% interest per month, okay? She is comfortable coasting. She thinks she's coasting, but what she doesn't know is the momentum is slowing down and her train is slowing down,
Correct.
and she doesn't know it.
Correct.
And she's been now with us for a couple of years. I've done my best. Vishal's done her best. We are making dents. No change.
No outward change.
No outward change.
So my question is, therefore, should we just, neither you nor I are going to stand by?
No.
Okay.
No.
So we have chosen to walk this path because we have decided not to stand by.
Correct.
So how does one inspire somebody? Because I look at it as sparking that inspiration within.
Yes.
That they are limitless.
Yes.
In that.
Yes.
Limitless.
Yes.
The everything, nothing.
Everything
not talk about.
Absolutely. Yes.
That potential exists in all of them.
Yes.
Right? Infinite potential. So I understand that we should accept that this is it.
Yes.
We are now dealing with somebody who doesn't seem to have a drive.
Yes.
Or an inspiration.
Yeah.
Or even an awareness.
Yes.
That there is something that is better that's possible.
Correct.
And obviously you and I are not going to keep quiet. Otherwise we wouldn't be walking this path. We wouldn't be doing
be sitting here today.
No.
Yeah.
So this podcast is also to tell people that, you can be infinitely better.
Yes.
Provided you take responsibility for accepting what is, and then start copying, emulating, whatever you want to call it, learn from people and make it your own. For example, I would copy you, and I realized one day you asked me when we were doing a workshop, and I remember that day. Again, you'll tell me about my memory. And you came up to me and you said, I did a session, and you said, where was this person the last 3 years? And my response, I don't know whether you will remember or not, I said, I decided not to copy you, but to take the essence of you and make it me. Like, and that is when I was then comfortable in my own skin, saying those things because it came from a place of conviction, because it was me, not me trying to do a Kichu.
Yeah.
Right. So how do we bring about this change? Right. I'm going to be very immodest in this. You got me. I don't think it required so much of effort to, spark a change in me.
No.
Okay.
No.
Took to it like a duck to water.
Yeah.
Right? How do we bring about this change in others? Because truly that's...
No, it might sound philosophical, Cheenu, but it's keep at it. Keep at it. Keep at it. Keep at it. Somewhere or the other, a spark will ignite. The failures and the failures and the failures, in the hope that you will hit on the 100th monkey.
Okay.
I had in Est, I had a lady called Diane who was coaching us. And one day I was doing a seminar and nothing worked. There was one guy who was asking all kinds of stupid questions and I got a little annoyed. And I went back home.
Oh, you get annoyed during the workshops also?
Huh?
You used
Those
to?
days I used.
Okay.
Long
because sometimes I do get, even now, and I'm wondering how.
Now I don't.
Yeah.
Zero. Okay. So then I was going back and I asked her, I'd been into the game for about 2 years. She'd been in the game for 10 years. I said, Dan, how do you do this? How do you do this with such guys asking these funny questions now I'm saying? I used to say nastier things earlier. And she said there is a story about Michelangelo where somebody asked Michelangelo, how do you create these wonderful, statues? And Michelangelo is supposed to have replied that, when I see the block of marble, I see the person inside the statue and I chip away the edges. And you must remember, I was not 72, I was 29 at that time. Okay. And I'm internally saying, what is this American woman giving me this gyan? I'm asking her a question. So I said, yeah, okay, Diane, okay. And then she said that every human being has God within them and that God is covered in shit. Your job is to clean away the shit till the God inside surfaces.
Wow.
And that's been a inspiring thing for me that, even this lady who's working in our house, I will, as long as I'm alive, will continue to do what I can do till the God inside her shines.
Yeah.
Maybe I may not succeed, but if I've cleared up enough shit from her, maybe somebody else in some other domain, she will be a better human being.
Absolutely.
And that's what keeps me going till date.
Completely tangential. I was listening to Jeff Bezos in a podcast, and he's written this in his book as well. Walter Isaacson has taken his writings and put it out there, and about Blue Origin and space and all of that. And I was recently listening to a podcast exchange where Jeff Bezos was talking to Lex Friedman. And so Lex asked a question, so are you going to be the first person? Are you going to be living on those space stations? And Jeff Bezos says, no.
Yeah.
The internet made so many things possible. What made the internet possible was the telephone lines that were laid.
Yeah.
Before that, what made that possible were the railway lines that were made and the telegraph lines that used to run alongside the railway lines.
True.
And before all of this, there was this one person who created a plow, which made farming possible. So when I was listening to this, I was wondering, where is this going?
Yeah.
And he says, I am creating the infrastructure that 150 years from today, space-related innovations and incubation will happen in a person's garage. Internet startups happen in garages today, thanks to the internet being there. Space-related innovation and startups will happen in people's garages when we give the infrastructure
for them.
So basically, I'm taking that and equating that to what you're saying. We are going to clean as much of the muck that a person is covered with. And both of us have some muck of our own. We become aware of it and we keep cleaning.
Keep cleaning, and it accumulates on top anyway. See, as a coach, the whole thing is, are there people's lives whom we can impact so that not all of them, some of them will take it on and impact other people's lives.
Correct.
Okay. Like what you're doing.
Correct.
I did something with you. When you sat in my workshop the first time, I had no idea that this obnoxious guy you were in those days is going to turn out to be the kind of person you were. Okay. When I sat in the workshop in 1979, I was part of a 250 people group. Okay. The guy who conducted the workshop for me, he had no idea that there is this overweight young guy who's sitting in the back of the room all the time is one day going to take this game on and work with 50, 60, 70,000 people. But he did it thinking that everyone in the room will become like that.
Correct.
And that's how I do my workshops.
Correct.
And I'm sure that's how you do your workshops.
Absolutely.
That every one of those people has the potential to become better than me. And as long as this flame is carried on, I think there's hope for the planet.
Absolutely. For example, I know that one of the things that you mentioned in the workshop is love, trust, and respect.
Yeah.
Right. 3 pillars of a relationship.
Yeah.
And you planted that seed in 2006. And I kept rolling it around my head. Understood. And I was asking myself, which is more important? Because if there are 3 things, if there are 3 disparate things, then one needs to be the most important.
Okay.
The other needs to be medially important, and the third one is least important. It has to be that way. If there's one, that's perfect. But which is that
the key
in a relationship?
Yeah.
And I thought about it, and I would always say it the way I heard it from you. Love, trust, respect. Love, trust, respect. Love, trust, respect. Love, trust, respect. And I was wondering, what is love? I realized I didn't know what love was. I knew I was loved. I knew I was loving, but I didn't know what love was. Further exacerbated this conundrum in my head when I read for the nth time Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. right? Where the question of what is quality came up.
What is quality?
And I said, quality, love, can't describe, but we know when it's there, when it's not there. So I said, okay, so I'm not going to touch love for now. Hey, what is trust? And I went on a circle again. Then I said, you know what, let's focus on respect now. And it suddenly hit me, like you said, obnoxious person that I was, very insecure within, which came out as being bombastic and obnoxious. And when I became very secure in myself, no longer do I need to show people that I'm great. I don't care what people think of me.
Yeah.
Because the only question is, am I doing my best in this moment?
Yeah.
And the intent, which I'll come back to, because I think I've learned something from you there also. I've made it my own. I think I've made it better, but I'll come there.
Perfectly fine.
Right?
Nice.
You would expect only that.
Yeah.
So I said, respect is one thing that depends only on me.
Yeah.
I don't need to wait for somebody to be respectable for me to respect them.
Sure.
Respect is something that depends entirely on me, and I can look at the God within that is covered in crap.
Yeah.
And I can respect that God. Or like we say, namaste, which is the divinity in me bows to the divinity in you, right? That's the concept. So I said, respect is simple. Can I be respectful all the time? I can disagree. Can I be disagreeable? Can I disagree without being disagreeable?
Well, yeah.
Can I be respectful in my disagreement? I said, if I am disagreeing, forget disagreement. If I'm respectful all the time, chances are that I'm going to have an engagement, a dialogue, rather than a discussion or a debate or an argument.
Yep.
Right. Then I said, okay, what comes next? I said, okay, then is it? So I've understood the first one, which is the beginning. I'm not saying it is important. I'm saying the simplest one is respect. The next level I thought was love. What is love? What is quality? And I said, you know what? Like in the Mandukya Upanishad, where they say it cannot be described.
Yeah, okay.
It can only be described as the absence or what it is not. Okay? So the self that is to be known cannot be described as this is it. It can be only described as what it is not. And how it cannot be found.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? Very interesting.
Okay.
7th mantra of the Mandukya Upanishad. Very interesting. You'll love it. I said, love is not being afraid. Love is not being found fault with. Love is not this. Love is not this. Love is not this. And I said, okay. So it's the absence of everything that will make me feel afraid or less than.
Okay.
So love, I feel safe. I can actually be myself.
Yeah.
I can actually know that I can do something and I will not be found fault with. Right? I said, okay. So love is where I can be. Step 2 is love.
Okay.
Then I said, when I'm respecting others,
and loving,
and therefore hopefully being respected myself, and I'm in an environment where I feel loved, which means I feel safe, I probably will open up a little more of the internal monologue that's going on in terms of how I'm actually feeling to other people. And if that is not abused, misused by people, then I will start trusting them more and more and more.
Sure.
Okay? So this is something that I've been thinking about and saying that, you know what, in a relationship, start with respect.
Yeah, okay.
Make it safe for people.
Yeah.
And when you are respecting one another, don't judge. You can't be respectful and judgmental.
No, not possible.
Right? You can't be respectful and judgmental. Respect means accepting them as they are and looking at that infinite potential within. Right? Actions can be anything. Then you might start wondering whether you can trust. Then, last week I got a further twist in this tale.
What's the twist?
I can trust another person when I trust myself and no other time.
Yeah.
When I trust myself, I am absolutely okay with trusting everybody else. It is only when I don't trust myself and I start worrying about, what will happen if people get to know this about me, the thoughts that I'm thinking. I'm not saying that we should go and tell everybody whatever we're thinking. Like I've told you this, remember? In the workshops also, when you said I'm trying to read people's mind, I told you don't. Because you'll actually you'll know what they think of you.
Every workshop. But people will actually know what they're thinking about me.
Correct. Yeah. So I want, in the same way, love, trust, respect, love and trust.
Yeah.
Right? What else keeps you going? In your journey of life, working with people, what are other things that are important?
No, what keeps me going, Cheenu, is that the way I am, the way I am with people, the intention with which I live my life, I know that I make a difference in people's lives.
Okay.
I just know it.
Okay.
All right. And I find the evidence where my cousin's daughter in Dubai finds it exceedingly safe to talk to me. What she will not ever talk to her mother or father. Okay. And I have no idea why she does that. And she will refer to me the way her mother refers as Kichu Anna, even though she's only 18 and I'm 72. And we criticize both her parents. And we have a great time talking with each other. Okay. So I know that I'm making a difference to an 18-year-old young girl who is absolutely confused with what's going on in life. I also know that I make a difference when a father comes to me and he shows me a WhatsApp message from his daughter to his wife, where the daughter is saying, if you are coming down to the US, you cannot stay in my house. Daddy can stay, but you cannot stay because you mess up the entire family when you come. And I just wonder, how did they get into this? And I know that by conversing with him and maybe conversing with the other person, I can make some kind of difference to their happiness.
Absolutely.
That keeps me going.
Yeah. And, you'd be very happy that, what you started off and what you've invested in me is actually coming to fruition, because I had the biggest compliment given to me by a 9-year-old.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Who is now a client.
Yeah.
And 9-year-old who actually I'm going to be talking to her tomorrow.
Okay.
Right? This morning I got a message from her mother saying that, my daughter wants to have her session with you.
With you, yeah.
Right. So I understand.
I'm very curious how she's going to pay you.
So as I was, respect first leads to love, which is the absence of negative emotions. And when I have absence of negative emotions, I can be more of myself. I can, let's say, reveal more of my true nature.
Okay.
And when that revelation of true nature is not abused, misused by another person for any reason whatsoever, that builds more and more trust, which is where I was. And I also realized that last week, one thing hit me, that if I trust myself completely, then I can trust everybody.
Yeah.
So, when I trust myself, there's one example that I gave in a group when I was talking to them, and there was a lot of non-group, non-team work that was going on.
Okay.
So I borrowed your thing and I said, whatever I hear here, I will leave here when I leave here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I make that promise that whatever I hear here, I will leave here when I leave here.
Yeah.
And everybody liked it and they were smiling. And I said, please make a statement. Then I asked them a question. Do you feel safe to trust? To open up and actually tell people what they feel? And the unanimous answer was no.
Yeah.
So I said, this is a question of trust. that none of you feels safe to actually speak about what it is that you want to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
We see this in families as well.
Yes.
We see this in workplaces, definitely.
Definitely. Yes.
We see this in families as well.
Yeah.
Right? We see this amongst friends. Then again, the story that you told me about Pandit Bhimsen Joshi,
Yeah.
and you asking Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, how do you sing so well? And Panditji saying, where do I sing?
Yeah.
I just come here. Vithala uses my voice box.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I surrendered. Something took over my voice box. And I was listening to it and said, wow, that seems very nice. Where did this come from? So what I said was, if you are sitting on a branch of a tree, when would you trust and sit there?
Very interesting. Okay.
And various things, when the branch is strong, sturdy. Okay. What else? When there's a safety net below. What else? When it's not too high. Right?
So even if I fall, I'm not going to get hurt.
Correct? All of that came.
Okay.
Then I said, okay, let's now look at it. It is 50 feet above. And it's shaking all the time. What would need to be true for you to sit on that branch there? No answers came. So what would need to be true for you to sit there? And after about 5-10 minutes, they said nothing. So I said, think outside, think differently. What would need to be true for you to conveniently sit there?
Okay.
And again, nothing happened. So I said, okay, if you are a bird, would you worry sitting on that branch? If you're a monkey, would you worry sitting on that branch? And they said, no. I said, so the monkey or the bird is sitting on the branch, not depending on the branch, but on itself and its ability to...
whatever.
So I said, similarly, you can trust yourself here if you believe in yourself and you trust yourself and you know that your intent is genuine, it is not selfish, it is not manipulative, it is not to put down another person, right? So I think I'd like to hear from you. How do we inspire this trust, especially amongst loved ones? See, we have this with term that loved ones, and it's supposed to mean family. And that is where you and I find the greatest amount of animosity.
Correct. Absolutely.
Correct?
Yeah.
Husband, wife, parent, child, siblings.
Yeah.
Right? And I've had a couple of cases like what you mentioned, where the child is saying you can come and stay, but you can't stay here.
Yeah.
Like take a hotel.
You're not welcome.
You take a hotel and stay. It's sad.
Yeah.
And it's happening more often than I would like for it to happen today. I'm not going to be judgmental here. Everybody lives their own reality. My question to you is, how do we inspire this kind of trust in our loved ones? What advice would you have for people to be trusting and trustworthy, loving and lovable, respecting and respectable?
See, Cheenu, if you look at trust, why would I not trust you?
Exactly.
Okay. So I want to say you gave me this glass of water.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you that, Cheenu, this glass of water, I don't know where you got it from, but it's got too much of chlorine in it.
Yeah. Okay.
I would not trust you because I am afraid of what you might react.
Correct.
To what I would say.
Correct.
And sometimes that fear may be with a positive intent behind it. I have a lot of concern for you or an affection for you. And I tell myself, this is a chiller thing. Chlorine. I can handle this. Why get Cheenu riled up unnecessarily? Things are going on the way they are going. So maybe in the quote unquote, insignificant parts. Having some distrust with each other is all right. The concern comes when it goes to deeper stuff. Then what is it about you that makes me feel unsafe to tell you what's going on with me? So I'm a 14-year-old kid and I've got 20 out of 100 in the maths exam. What is it that I would feel bad to come to you or untrust you that if I show this to you, you start off your monologue about how important life is, how important maths is, how important your future is, so that the next time around, I don't, even if I get 20, I forge it to look like 60 and show it to you. We were living for a couple of years in Chennai, and I came back to Bombay. So my mom and dad moved to another location. I was staying with my grandparents. So I joined a school in Bombay where all the bad language I knew, I learned there. Okay? Everything I learned there. It was a 6th standard. And my grandparents were, grandson. There's nothing he can do wrong. I started doing things like bunking school and, going off to the beach and that kind of stuff. So then the mid-year 6-month exams came in and I got out of some 13 subjects or something. I think excepting English, I had a red line in every one of them. Okay. So now, mom and dad were staying somewhere else. So weekend I'd go over there. So I'm here with this report card, so scared about showing it to my father. But I showed it to him. He looked at it and he just said, okay. He says, only one thing I'll tell you. If you continue like this, you're going to repeat what happens in the final exam. That's also fine. Then you'll go back to school. When you go back to school, all your friends will go into the 7th standard class and you will go into the 6th standard class. That's all that will happen. There's nothing wrong in the way you've been studying. And that scared the fill in the blanks out of me. Okay. I couldn't even think of that. Okay. In the final exam, I came 12th in the class. Okay. But what I'm saying is, I knew that I could show the report card to him and not get a walloping, beating. I know my other friends have been beaten up by their father and mother for this kind of stuff. So trust comes when there's safety and that you're not going to be judged, evaluated, criticized, beaten up, okay, that kind of stuff. So I think that is the advice, that you need. Okay. There's another very weird kind of example. Another friend of mine, their daughter was working outside Bangalore, came back to Bangalore. And then this is the story the mother told me that she was now living with them after living alone somewhere else. She'd come home, say I'll come home at 6, come at 9, phone is not working. The two of them every evening would have a fight. So one day the mother said, enough is enough. Okay. She said, look, you better take your own flat. All right. Because what you do with yourself is your problem. One thing, please remember, if you one day come here with your belly swollen up and you say, I've got a kid on the way, and you will know this more than other people. There was this actress in Tamil called Pandari Bai, who used to be the sacrificing mother. So the mother told the daughter, I'm not going to be sacrificing Pandari Bai. I'll slam the door on you. You do what you want. I trust you to take care of yourself when you're living all by yourself, because 3 years you lived away. Together, it doesn't work. So she gave her daughter the safety that you can go, I understand your life. And then she told me, you know what? We now have a great time with each other. She lives in her apartment, we live in ours. She comes on weekends, I cook what she wants, and we are all having a ball. That's trust. Okay. You're fine the way you are. You're an adult. And I'm not adult, I'm not saying 18. Okay. 12 is an adult. All right. You're an adult. I know you're responsible for your life. I'm there as a guide, not as a school principal.
Okay. But where does the line, is there? I know there is no line. But how do we choose an appropriate action? Because we know that, I know full well, thanks to you, that I am a custodian.
Yes.
I am not the father.
Yes.
My wife is not the mother.
Yes.
We are custodians of their children's future self.
Yes.
All that is fine. Right? Somewhere, and this is something where I've learned this as being non-attached. So the way people normally say detachment, I'm saying no, non-attachment.
Yeah.
And people ask me what the difference is. And I couldn't explain initially. Then I said, you know what? This is attachment. This is detachment. This is non-attachment.
Yeah.
I'm there, but I'm not holding you back.
Yeah.
I care, but I'm not affected.
Yeah. Yeah.
What advice would you have for, I know that there is, there is no one size that fits all.
Sure. There is it.
But if you were to look at certain principles that a parent or a child or anybody who is facing trust issues or they're not feeling loved, what principles would you say would be useful for them to think about?
Okay. There's a family I'm working with. Okay. The family are having lots of issues with each other. They've just gone on a holiday. The key people in the family is the father and the daughter who mess the family's life up. Okay. So I've sent both of them a message. Okay. I said, in the last 2 days you've been on the holiday, they're on a 6-day holiday. In the last 2 days of the holiday, what have you done to contribute to peace and harmony in the family? What have you done to destroy the peace and harmony in the family in the last 2 days? Okay. So if each person takes it on themselves, I am going to do what I can to enhance trust. And I don't know if it will be taken advantage of. I don't know whether people will rough ride me, but I'm going to test it out regularly rather than live on preconceived notions. That day when I trusted you, you did that. Therefore, you're going to do that for the rest of your life. To be in the moment, see what is wanted and needed, and experiment, explore, check it out. Because this whole issue of relationship, Cheenu, is something that is dynamic. It's not a fixed thing.
Correct.
I'm saying husband and wife, parents and children, children and parents. It's not the same thing.
Correct.
It's, if you remember in Circle of Iron, where he says that you put your leg in the water, the stream that passes by is gone. There's a new kind of, the way of saying it, a new water that is coming in. And most of us live our life with that day you did that.
Correct.
Therefore, you're going to do it forever.
Correct.
So if I want to sum up all these complicated things, I don't know what it is to have a relationship. I don't know what is trust. I don't know what is love. I'm discovering it day by day by day by day.
So no nothing state.
No nothing state. Not as easy as I'm saying it.
Correct.
Okay. I also call it a subject we've not looked at yet is, can you listen from nothing?
Absolutely.
There
is so much, I'm going to make sure one of the things that I mentioned to somebody who was supposed to be in the communication workshop and couldn't. I said, don't worry. I'm going to have Kichu here multiple times.
Sure.
And we're going to put all of this out there. And it'll be a conversation and we will do whatever we need.
We need to do that, yes.
So I think there's no nothing.
Yeah.
Right? If after all of this, after working with so many people, you say that I might not know. I do not know is the best, but I might not know is a start.
One of my friends whom I haven't talked to for I don't know how many years, she calls up and she says, I'm in trouble and you're the only person I think who can handle it. I said, what? My son is refusing to appear for the 10th standard prelim exam. Okay. I said, send him to me. 3 hours later, the guy goes out. Within about 10 minutes, he calls his mom up. He says, Kichu, tune jadoo kya kar rakha? I said, why? My son thinks you're the greatest guy on the planet. I said, I don't know, but all I know is in the 3 hours he was with me, 2.5 hours he talked. Half an hour I listened.
Correct.
And she's a good friend, okay?
Yeah.
And I just asked her, you are some big whatever in your corporate. Your husband is a bigger whatever he is in corporate. Why the hell can't you guys do that?
I know.
Yeah.
So I asked somebody the other day, what are the 2 words that come in the way of life? A very smart person sitting in one of the most well-known places of higher learning. I'm sitting there and I said, what are the 2 words that come and screw up life? And what are the 4 words that are the exact opposite that will make life beautiful? And the person looked at me and said, don't give me the answer. I said, oh, I won't. And then we chatted and, he was asking this. I said, I'll give you a hint. The first word is I. Okay. In both, it's the half an hour going back and forth. Finally, both of us needed to take a restroom break. So we go to the restroom and I'm standing there and he's also standing there. And suddenly he says, Cheenu, 2 words, I know.
Yeah.
I said, absolutely.
Absolutely, I know.
I know will kill life.
Yeah.
I do not know will enhance life.
Yeah.
So I think, I think it's a good place for this episode.
Yes, I agree.
I would normally ask a question of people. I'm not going to ask that question of you today because I'll save that for later.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if people who are watching it, they have questions, they can just anonymously post it in some form or shape.
Yep.
And we will have maybe periodically a session which takes all of these questions and answers those questions.
Yep.
And not just me, my coach, Master Kichu, will be here. Right? And we will do the best that we can.
Absolutely.
And, it feels like a very short time that we've been speaking.
I know.
Even with all the glitches and all of that, it still feels like we've not even started.
Yeah.
So, sometime.
Sure. I'm game.
We are going to make this a regular affair.
I'm game.
Right?
Yeah.
A series with.
Yeah.
Right?
And I also think, like this idea of the HappYness Helix, more and more people with different perspectives on the same subject will be really valuable.
Absolutely.
For the people who listen to it.
Absolutely.
And in a way of speaking it, for the true seekers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of podcasts and all of them, while everyone who genuinely wants to go out there and make a difference, they seem to be making a difference.
Yes.
Right? And that's the intent.
Intent.
So, in your words, please tell all viewers, because you know what, I'm consider all the other people, I'm old.
Yeah.
But then you are the older.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay? Elder.
Yeah.
So kindly tell all viewers to watch it properly.
Sure.
And to share it with people.
Sure. Done.
So do that now.
Yeah. So please, I had a ball, and I think the ones of you that have been listening and seeing both of us in this conversation with each other, please reflect. I personally think that the conversation Cheenu and me have had together, in a way, is not understandable the first time. Listen to it again, reflect it, share it with people. After sharing with people, have a dialogue with them. Okay, this is what I listened to. This is the insights that I got. What are the insights you got? And start your own journey into the different subjects that Cheenu and me got into today. That would be really beneficial for your own life.
Thank you, Master.
Thank you, sir. Namaskara.
Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah.